Okay. So theoretically, we are live. Let me open up YouTube on my phone app and double check that it's showing up. Hey, looks like it is rocking and rolling. How about that? Cool. So that part at least is working. Turn the volume down on that. All right, so if I switch over to screen share in OBS, cool. Also looking good. Everything seems to be working as expected. So I've got a checklist here so that we can launch Reaper, kind of see what we get. And switch over to headphones. All right. This is the first time launching this software on this computer. We'll see how that goes. We got Darby set up on this one a few weeks back before that session with Dave Bennett. Oh, the good old plugin scan. Man, this one's taking a while, isn't it? Okay, so I don't have anyone else really watching the stream yet, so I'm going to test putting in a message. Here. And we'll see if it shows up in OBS like it's supposed to. It does. Sweet. Move my Reaper checklist over here to this other window. That way, I can see it while I work in Reaper. Because that just makes sense. Let's see. I tried dialing up the gate. On the channel strip. Okay. I'll just leave that there for right now. And then I guess I can go back and listen to the playback on this and make sure microphone audio is working well. See, I might need to dial the gate back. Sometimes this gate on the voice channel can be a little testy. You have not yet selected an audio device. Yes, I would. Whoa. Okay, so there's an update. I'm not going to do that right now because we're just doing a test. Okay. ASIO. We're going to do Focusrite USB. For inputs. Let's see what I want to do there. I don't have an expansion right now. We'll just do down to input 8. We'll label all outputs. Okay. All right. So you want usually work at 96. Yes. I will get a key once I actually check it out. All right, I'm going to say still evaluating just because I will not stay on that. But, okay. So let's look at my checklist here. So this says to open the audio device settings in preferences and select the audio device. I have done that. Okay. This also says, so I made this list after watching a whole bunch of Kenny Joya's videos. And, just kind of made some notes on what I would need to do. So now I just have to find it all in here. Render loop recording. It says I need to go preferences, project. I need to look for project. I don't see project here. So maybe it's somewhere else. Okay. Options, preferences, which brings up the same window. I can see what people say about there being a learning curve on this. Okay. So if we do save project window. Okay, and let's create a new, just use this as my directory and say Reaper test. We want to check, create a subdirectory for the project. I'm not adding in any media at this point from anywhere else, but I am going to go ahead and say copy all media into project directory and say save. Okay. So a lot of this still says it should be in preferences. So maybe if we go to media. Okay, so this put new peak files in peak subfolder relative to media. I want that checked. Let's see what else we got here. Aha, now that we've saved the project, see that's interesting. So now that we've saved the project, we have the project preferences. So we can say prompt to save on a new project and open properties on a new project. So now if I create a new project to work on, it should prompt me to do a lot of this stuff. Okay. And if we go to media, defaults, okay. I don't have a template file to use at this point. Project saving. Okay. All right, let's look at MIDI files, or there's another thing I need to click apply. And I need to figure out how I set these settings as my default settings for the project. Okay, well, we shall see about that. MIDI devices, there we go, okay. Axiom 49. I'm going to enable input and control messages on this device. Do that. We'll do the same thing on output. And we will click apply. All right. So theoretically, that should be let's put this phone on silent. Now I should be able to say save project as. We'll do Reaper test 2. Okay, so actions is where the recent actions are. Theoretically, should be able to double click there, create a track, double click in that to rename it, and say MIDI test effects window. Okay, VST3, let me pick go into categories. And just look and see how all they separate this out. Cool. All right. Okay, so let's add the Anna 2. We'll see. Okay, we need to record enable that. And it would probably help if we assigned it MIDI input. Hey, hey. Okay, so now another stream test thing I need to do. It's got a lot of echo on it. What can we put on here that's a little less? Okay, it shows us that's coming into input 1, but that's not exactly what I want to do, so that might be due to how I have my Focusrite set up, because I was doing this differently for another video. Okay, yeah, speed of outputs I've got. Okay, so let's switch that there. So now if I look in OBS, that should be coming through speed of channels 1 and 2 on the inbox. Now I'll need to check on playback that that's actually coming through to the stream. But still kind of cool. Okay, I better stop that before I get copyright issues. But so hopefully that is coming through the stream okay. The levels look good on OBS. Okay. So. Okay. Aha. So here we get some of this stuff. This is where I can set some defaults. So I want my default settings at 96K. Path to save media files can be relatively blank for the same path as a project file. Yeah, I think I'll leave that 24-bit. Yes, one to use as wave. Okay. Video frame rate. I typically work at 24. Okay. 120 BPM. That's okay to start. Interesting. So let's just start recording here. Okay, that's different. Okay, so let's drag this away. Okay, and drag it all the way over. We'll start it at measure 3. That's usually where I start recording projects. Alright. And if I disable snap, then I can get this closer to the downbeat. Okay. So now if I say save project, and wifey's texting me, what is she texting me? Okay. Hey, father-in-law's coming to visit us. That's cool. Wait. I like my father-in-law. He's a cool guy. Alright. So, with all that done, I should be able to exit out of Reaper and relaunch. And it reopened that same project. Okay. Okay, so if I say close project, okay, and then I'm just going to exit out all of this. And then with that project closed, that's another thing that I have to get used to is some of that stuff. Okay. Okay, so it is. So there's Reaper Test and Reaper Test 2. So it did create that subdirectory. And then there's Reaper Test 2, which includes the MIDI. Okay. So I'd need to actually record some audio. But yeah, we can go ahead and no. Okay, so it's asking me to create a project rather than open one. Not exactly what I want to do. Okay, so I can say open project and Reaper Test 2. There it opens. All right. And let's see. What else could we do here? Just to do a test to make sure that when we do stream, hopefully next week, I'm hoping to do this a week from today, that everything is working good. All right. Do I have a microphone handy besides this one? I think they're all in the mic closet / amp closet. But that's okay. I do have one plugged in. And I think it's plugged into the ML2 that's mic'd up on the Marshall. So, double click on that. We're going to not record enable this. We're going to name this mic audio. Record it. Okay, so if you record enable it, that's where you can get these things. We're going to say input 2 because that's where I have it. Jump on back to the start here. You know what, we'll go ahead and latch onto the grid there so we can start at the very, very start. We're record enabled, and shortcut I believe is Control R. Okay, and so now we are recording some audio. Okay. So it's selected a range here. I don't necessarily want to record a range. All right, and there's buttons here to zoom in and out. Okay, so if I just drag that to close. Okay, so theoretically this should, yeah, okay, so that's just rocking and rolling. Okay. And I don't know that I like this. If I uncheck that, because I don't necessarily want it prompting me to save every single time I record and have to go through all the different files. Um, it is, I can see it being kind of cool if your track names are not exactly what you would want your file names to be. Okay, so now if I do that and I move over here and I record again, if I stop, is it going to prompt me again since I unchecked that? It is not. Cool. All right. So now, the save project, and close all projects. So there's a peaks folder, but where did the audio files go? Hmm. Let's say, Okay. So now, let's recent projects. Let's reopen Reaper Test 2 and go into our project settings. And now, if we go to our thing here, okay, we say that's okay. And so we designate that particular file path. And we go back to the start here. And we're recording over this. Okay. And that's kind of cool where it automatically puts as a playlist. Now, how many times will it do that? No, I don't want. Okay. As many times as I hit record, I don't have to manually create a playlist. That's kind of cool. All right. And save project. Close all projects. Test 2. There's still a peaks file. Is it just not showing me the audio files in that? Let's look. Let's actually open up the file explorer. Okay. So it is dropping the audio into the same folder as the project file. So that's kind of annoying. There's a lot of this stuff that, unlike where Pro Tools just has the defaults, right? It's you create a project, it's automatically going to create an audio files folder. It's already going to create a lot of that stuff. And I'm going a lot more into depth on this than I originally wanted to, but so here it's all configured. Okay, so if we go project settings, okay. So I'm telling it to go in there. So what if I say a new folder under there and go make it an audio files folder and say okay. Say okay there. And I don't necessarily want to set that as the default for all sessions because ideally each session or project is going to have its own folder. Helps if I record enable something. So, okay, and that's why you have to set it to... Anyway, that's why you have to set it to bring up that prompt every time you create a new session. Okay. So now we go... now we've got an audio files folder that has blank audio there and generates a separate peaks folder. Okay. So that's going to be a different workflow to get used to, is going through and setting all that up at the start of a session. A little bit more manual work at the start, but could be interesting. Okay. So I think that should be enough for me to at least check this stream, check playback, make sure that we're getting audio out of Reaper, make sure that this audio is nice and crisp and clean and Gate's not cutting me off unnecessarily, and see that everything is ready to rock and roll. So if you check this out, appreciate it. And yeah, there should be, if you see this video, leave your thoughts and comments down below. If you notice some workflow things that, if you're familiar with Reaper and have some ideas on how I could make this a little bit more efficient, cool. And if not, I'm going to call it, and then I will not launch Reaper again until we are ready to do a live stream session. And I've got a song that I wrote for my first album that I've kind of felt like I could do better. It was one of the first songs I tracked for that album. And so I went ahead and exported the some of the MIDI files from my Pro Tools session on that so that I can drop them into here and just kind of test out some of the same workflows that I do in Pro Tools and see how it works in Reaper. Some things that I want to test out is I want to have some MIDI drums. I want to bounce those individual MIDI tracks from Steven Slate drums out into individual audio tracks and then subgroup those and then record guitars. I've got a couple different guitar tones I want to use on that tune and just kind of test things out and see how they work, and then try subgrouping is something that I really want to test on, and I want to see how using these folder tracks instead of the aux tracks and things that I've gotten so used to doing in Pro Tools, seeing if I can use the folder tracks to not only organize track groups, but then also use those as basically subgroups for processing. And it's going to be interesting because I always learned in Pro Tools for every aux send that you create, to also have a master fader, because the meter on your aux is going to show the output of that aux, as opposed to the signal that is hitting your first plugin or whatever on that aux track. So, it's just how I've been working for years, is to create a master fader and an aux track and assign that master fader to the aux track, and that lets you meter and watch what you're sending into that aux track to make sure you're not hitting your first plugin super hard and causing clipping early on in the process. So seeing how excuse me, that would be adjusted in Reaper, and trying to do that with folder tracks, and how much of that is just I'm theorizing that'd be completely unnecessary in the few videos I've been watching from Kenny Gioia. But I'm going to go through and watch a lot more of those videos and see how all that works. But anyway, if you check this out, appreciate it. Thank you. Check the description for links to websites